Hello YouTubers, here again showing you the backup system that I previously explained in my previous video, where you can buy an external generator, a small generator, the 2000 watt generator, the small quiet ones, the Ryobi or the Predator or any small 2000 watts. I wouldn't go over 2000 watts because on the spec sheet, if you saw from the last video, it says on the side that any input of 72 to 160 volts DC for 48 volt system, 2500 watts or 2600 watts. So it's best to buy a 2500 watt or basically a 2000 watt generator, your small quiet one, and you can use this setup that's in front of me right now to charge your battery banks back up. What it does is you can find old appliance or anything that has a 120 plug or plug outlet on there, and you cut the other end that's attached to the appliance, and then you add the connectors, and the AC, as I explained before, goes to the bottom. On DC, it's at the top. You could also find a heatsink anywhere, eBay or some amplifier or anything like that, and you can get the bridge rectifier from off eBay. You can get this one. I bought this for 20 bucks, and all I did was attach it to a heatsink that I had laying around from other projects that I was doing. So what it does is it takes the generator AC power, converts it to DC, and this end here that I have capped off goes into the charge controller, and the charge controller then charges your battery bank. So the charge controller just needs a certain voltage, a certain amount of voltage in to be able to convert it to usable energy to charge your battery banks. So that's what this is gonna do. If you're one of those really cloudy days, or if you're a wind generator and there's no wind blowing, so anytime there's a dead thing, or at night, if you don't have a wind generator but you only have solar but your batteries are low and you're going through the night using power but you need some kind of source to charge your batteries back up, this is the way you can do it at night. If you buy one of those small generators, they usually last about 5 to 6 hours and they're very quiet. I think it's like maybe 15 dBs that you can stand next to it and talk. So you can put a tank of gas inside it, and let it run all night and charge the battery bank back up until morning when the sun comes out. So the sun comes out, you don't have to worry about the sun being up at 100% to bring your battery banks back up, because throughout the night your generator maintain the battery voltage, or fully charge it if you're not using that much power throughout the night while you're sleeping. So this right here will help many of you out who don't have the multi power input from the wind or the sun to charge the battery bank. So what this does, as I explained before, plug it into the generator, you start it up. This converts the AC power to DC, and the DC side of it goes into the charge controller, which then in return turn that energy into usable charging energy to charge your battery banks back up. So I'm going to plug it in and we're going to test out to see the output voltage. Now you have to remember, if you don't know about diodes and stuff, it's always voltage drop to turn the diode on. The bigger the diode, the more drop it pulls. Smaller diodes uses 0.7 volts to turn on. This is a very big diode, 100 amps. So this uses about, I think, like 8 or 9 volts. So 120, you should get 109, 108, 109-ish volts, which is still more than the 72 volts that's minimum required for the solar charger to turn on and charge the battery bank. So you're still within range. So I'm gonna rest the phone down. I'll try to plug this in while holding the phone. So here we go. Yes. Oh yes, and this is a fan. I got this out of I had a small shop charger, and it came inside that keeps the transformer cool, that charges the batteries. I took it apart because it stopped charging, and I utilized the fan, put it in front of the heatsink, and I attached it to the input side. since it uses 120 volts to run. So that's now going to keep the heatsink very cool while it's charging or converting the energy. So now it gets let's see, get my voltmeter here, and get the voltmeter, and we're gonna turn it to DC. Well, let's turn it to AC first. So it's on, if you can see that. Yep, it's on volts AC. So now let's look back. Alright, so now we're gonna test. Okay, rest this up against this. You can see that. Oh yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna test the input voltage coming from the main line. 118 volts AC. That's the input side. And then we're gonna switch it over now to DC. As you can see, clear up. Focus. Yeah, well, DC. And now we're gonna touch the output side, and you should see, yep, 109.5 volts DC. So you're gonna get 109 volts DC into the charge controller, which is, it asks for 72 volts to 160 volts DC input to be able to charge the batteries efficiently. So as you can see, when it plugs into the generator, it's going to give off 109 volts. If you have this rectifier, if you have a smaller 50 amp one or the one with less voltage, it's going to give you more. You'll be around 113 to 115, depending on what size diode you have. These are very large. These things are at least 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches long, and about 1 inch high. It's very big. So it's going to need a lot of power to turn on, which is between, if you calculate it right, my calculator is 9 volts. 8.99, yeah, 9 volts to turn on. So I have 109 volts of usable energy after the voltage drop across the diode. So I'm going to do 109 volts into the charge controller. It's going to take that 109 volts, turn it into charging DC to charge the battery banks back up. And throughout the night while the generator is running, the nice and quiet generator, you don't have to worry about anything, and you can use your appliance like regular, because you have 2,000 watts to 2,500 watts of energy going back into your battery bank through the charge controller. So you can use your appliance as usual, like how you want to. It's not going to pull it down heavy because you have energy going in as you're using it, versus nothing at all, no wind, no sun, and you have to nickel and dime your wattage of what you use. Turn off this light to use the fridge, or turn the water heater off, or whatever you're using to use something else. But because you have energy coming in now at night, you can leave most of the stuff on and use the stuff as regular like you do usually throughout the day. So this is a simple, very easy thing to assemble on a piece of wood or whatever, to have some kind of backup energy for blackouts, as in night, no charging or no wind. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.